told me from the start that you played around, it would have been fine. Then I would have played too, and I guess I would have had a good time. If you told me from the start that you played around, it would have been fine.
Thanks for tuning in. This is Vincent-Tennell, and you are watching part 2 of last week's interview with Dr. Kemayo. Enjoy.
And what do we celebrate?
Why should we celebrate either? It's like how you say with drugs. It's like how you say with drugs. You can't say just say no. You have to say
all of our humanity.
Yeah.
And in terms of what the balance is, you know, let's see. I'm trying to think. I'd have preferred to see Jennifer Hudson playing some of the roles that he had, and Jennifer doesn't look like she used to now. But you know, does he need to play that role? That's what puts him as the coon. That's why I said that. It's not so much, you know, I'm not into, I love science fiction. It's hypocritical here, okay?
Yeah,
I'm not into B movies, I'm not into B books.
Okay.
But I'll read mystery, I'll read sci-fi as recreational, and I'll call it junk reading. I refer to it as that. I'm reading some junk sci-fi now. I realize that, and that's how I engage with it. But there are people in sci-fi who are great writers, and I will call them great writers. So the genre doesn't, so you can be a good filmmaker if you're making excellent and great films, and then the quality of acting and who you're using and what you're trying to bring out, and the settings that you deal with. And if people read it and come out having learned something perhaps about themselves, perhaps about their community, you know, people can define beauty in different ways. And one of the reasons why I say, okay, if people like Tyler Perry, I'm not saying to other people don't look at Tyler Perry. People ask me about Tyler Perry and I respond. I'm not telling people don't listen to hip hop or rap music. I study it and I write about it, but I'm not a fan of rap music. It's not what I listen to. And for me, that's the same as saying, I don't like eggplant. And I like eggplant. When somebody tells me they like eggplant, I don't care if they don't like eggplant because I like it. They don't have to eat it. You know, so I don't have to watch Tyler Perry. It's the same kind of thing in terms of as a consumer. Consume the things that you like, consume the things that you need. I think in a sense of democracy that we shouldn't be, okay, everybody else is doing it, or so many people seem to like it. Okay, I don't.
All you had to say was you don't like him dressing up as a woman. That would have proved your point.
No, it's more than just him dressing up as a woman. It's the whole political context that when you listen to black women actresses speak about, we don't have any good roles. We don't get
They're lying.
roles.
They're all across the television. Being Mary Jane, Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder. They're on Grey's Anatomy.
Like I said, good roles.
Come on now. They're lying.
There are a few good roles out there for them, but when you look at all the other kinds of roles that are out there, they have very limited range that they can get into.
Well, you know what? What would you like black women to play? What's the perfect role for a black woman?
I don't know that there's a perfect role. I think there are a number of roles. So if you notice, certainly if we get into documentaries, okay, Cheryl Miller, Jackie Joyner Kersee as athletes, I think, would make excellent stories that could be put on film.
That Lifetime is going to probably do soon and mess up, as they always do with their biographies.
But at least then it would be out there. Okay, I mentioned the character of Jay Dean, if you know Tar Baby. If you look at Song of Solomon, and there's some wonderful roles in there, even though the 2 or 3 primaries may be men, but it would be a Toni Morrison book that would be a whole lot better than Beloved for a screenplay. Talked about Temple of My Familiar by Alice Walker. Talk about Jubilee.
But maybe
by
those
Margaret
don't need
Walker.
to be made into film. Maybe they're good in books and leave them alone.
No,
I think.
Have you read those books? So here, see, if you know the stories, they would make excellent stories.
But it's just like The Color Purple. Remember when The Color Purple came out, and then the NAACP thought, oh, we should not be making this into a film. This is a bad reflection of how our image is in the world.
NAACP
You can say all of those about those books as well.
NAACP has always said that, but You can't say that about Margaret Walker. You can't say that about Jubilee if you know the story. So if you look at 12 Years a Slave, if you look at something like Gone with the Wind, if you look at Amistad, in terms of an epic story,
12 Years
Jubilee
a Slave should have
would
never been made. I hated that film. I'm tired of seeing us as slaves. I am not a slave anymore. Give me another role.
Okay, then you understand what the story is about.
We've had stories
That's
after
the context.
story after
the
story.
context is surviving in terms of humanity. So when you look at the Shawshank Redemption, you know, people that go through
That's a great film.
problem. Well, they go through
Came out in the
diversity.
90s. We don't need that today. It's been done.
That one has been done. The human story.
The human story is the same story repeatedly over and over again, to be honest.
Right. So why
So
not
show us
remake
living
some of,
instead of surviving from day to day. Just show us living.
this is some of where the living and the thriving is in that. Because people are going to have adversity in their lives. How are they going to survive it? What are the models that they have for that? And the reality is we are still seen and projected as, you know, you said if the stereotype is true, what are the stereotypes of black folks?
We're loud, we're boisterous, we have a good time.
That's some of the stereotypes.
We're straightforward.
We're poor.
Are we?
That's what the stereotype is.
Because we spend trillions of dollars in revenue every year. Are we poor?
Once again, what is a stereotype?
I don't think that's a stereotype. That's in your mind.
No. When you begin to look at and you interact with folks,
I think we have more money than people think.
We do, but we don't spend it. And it's not just about the money that you have, it's about the capital. That's about using it to develop things and what institutions do you have and create with it. So that's some of the kind of story that needs to be told and dealt with. It's one of the major things for respect that Oprah has in creating an institution. I said I didn't necessarily want to be in her book club, but I respect the hell out of Oprah.
I
and
know you do,
understand what
'cause
she's
we all
done
love Oprah.
and what she's made of herself
Yes.
with that, and what she's ended up doing for people
Like Tyler Perry.
in the process. So, like I said, so I respect and understand that. And those are some of the kinds of stories that need to be put out. But see, we will make and deal with some of the sports kinds of stories. We've got a bunch of athletes, yes. But what are some of the other stories? Mae Jemison, for example, the first black woman astronaut. I went to school with her. That's a story that deserves and needs to be told.
I agree.
You know, so and Mae is much more than someone who was an astronaut. She's an MD and an excellent one
Okay.
in dealing with that.
So basically you're saying biographies need to be told of real people. We can sum
not
that up
necessarily
there.
just biographies, because I think that the fiction is just as good or better than the real life. And like I said, that's why
Which people write from real life experiences.
quite often, but sometimes.
Okay, so we got to sum this up. 2 questions. Who would you like to play you in a movie, since we're on movies?
Let's see.
And don't be difficult. Don't give me a top 5 list. Give me one person.
No. There are 2 people, and there are different things about them, and I don't know. Cuba Gooding, because of the kind of actor that he is and the craft that he would bring to it, but I don't think he has quite the mischievous sort of edge that Terrence Howard
I
has.
could see Terrence Howard playing you.
So see, I could see either. But you asked me the question.
But I can see Terrence. You're both difficult.
Probably so, in some ways.
And what's one word to describe you as a person?
Crazy.
Crazy. Say it into the camera one more time, loud and clear so people can hear you.
Intelligent.
There you have it, Dr. Kemau. Be iconic.
Oh yeah, I got a story to tell, and I want to tell it specifically to one person. That's Mr. Tyler Perry. Oh, you know him, Mr. Medea, gone mogul himself. You know his works from House of Pain, Meet the Browns, Love Thy Neighbor, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, Daddy's Little Girls, and the list goes on and on. Listen, when I was 14 years old, my grandmama told me, you're gonna be known around the world, so you better get ready. Now I'm all grown up, I'm almost there. There's only one thing missing. There's only one thing missing. Need you to pick the phone up. Tyler Perry. Need you to pick the phone up. Even if you don't have the time, I'll talk to your secretary. I'll talk to your secretary. I'll be waiting patiently by the phone. Call me on my phone. I'll meet you at your studio. I'll meet you at your studio. Yes, I will. Need you to pick the phone up. Pick the phone up. Tyler Perry. Yes, sir. Even if you don't have the time, I'll talk to your secretary. Yeah. I'll be waiting patiently. Call me on my phone. Yeah. I'll meet you at your studio or at Opera Zone. I can do drama for prime time. You best believe it, yeah. Like the haves and the have-nots. And I can do big screen and keep a diary. Oh, Mr. Perry, and give you mad like a black woman. And I can do comedy. I'm so funny. Ask anybody. And me. And I can do anything, Mr. Perry. And did you know I can sing? Yeah.
Do another run.
Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Can you go higher?
Sure.
Can you hold a note?
Watch this. Call me. Why don't you call me Mr. Perry? What's her name? What's her name? Tell her my name. Her name is Lexi. Call me. Call me. Tyler Perry. Pick up the phone. What's her name? What's her name? Tell her my name, girl. Her name is Lexi. Say it like you mean it. Hey. Call me. I really need that job. Mr. Perry. I really need that paycheck. What's her name? Say it like you mean it. Her name is Lexi. Ooh. Call me. Yeah. Yeah. Tyler Perry. Mr. Perry. What's her name? Yes, sir. Her name is Lexi. See, I wanna be next to you. Call me. Right when you're cutting them checks. Mr. Perry. Yes, sir. What's her name? What's her name? At your studio. Her name is Lexi. I wanna be an Oprah. Call me. Talking about my new Tyler role Perry. In your new movie. What's her name? Oh, yes, sir. Her name is Lexi. I'm gonna call those things that be not. Call me. As though they already are, baby. Mr. Perry. I ain't shy and I ain't ashamed. Tell them girls what's my name, girl. Call me. Tyler Perry. What's her name? What's her name? Her name is Lexi. No, I'm serious. Like, call me.
Black World family, Breaking Brown family, and I just want to say that one of the people that I rarely, if ever, criticize is Minister Louis Farrakhan. And there is a reason for that. I rarely criticize Farrakhan because he has so many adherents who are so, so militantly in his corner that is really, as far as I'm concerned, mostly a losing battle, because of no matter what you say, a Nation of Islam, loving person who loves Farrakhan isn't really going to change their minds. But I saw something that came across my Facebook feed last night, as a matter of fact, and I had to say something. I mean, I hear Farrakhan has this justice or else thing going on. I guess it as a marketing ploy to sort of sell, Million Man March Part 2. And let me just say something, black people. I understand that one of the only things that this country, that the Western dominating forces respect is wealth and violence. That's what we are. Those are the two valuable products, wealth and violence. I get that. But let me just say, when you start telling black people justice or else, you're really putting black people in a lot of danger. When you think about the National Guard, the military, the militia, these oath keepers, everyone else, you think about, what are we, 13, 14% of the population? What I am saying is that this thing Farrakhan is doing, in the sense of we need 10,000 men who would rather be dead than to continue to see their babies in the streets or whatever. I'm telling you, this is some of the most potentially damaging, race war encouraging stuff I've seen in a while. And what I'm saying is that, if you start a race war, first of all, black people, we gonna lose. There is no way around that. This is, and let's be honest, even with what's happening, black people in America are probably better off than black people in a lot of other countries. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying don't find a way to fight back. I'm saying, if Farrakhan wants to do this stuff, if Farrakhan wants to start this race war and talk about how death is preferable, to living the way we're living and all that stuff, well, he should be the first one to bust a grape in the food fight. I mean, you have the Nation of Islam behind you, which is thousands of black people, thousands of black men, and you're talking about what we should be doing. You're living out in Hyde Park. Didn't he live like around the corner from Barack Obama? And you're talking about what black people should be doing and what you expect, and 10,000 soldiers. Farrakhan, you've been around how long? You haven't done anything. You haven't done anything to kind of challenge white supremacy, and that's why you're allowed to breathe in this country. If you listen, there's a reason why every black radical who has authentically fought for black freedom in this country has been ousted. He is gone. He is no more. We have where's Assata Shakur right now? She's in Cuba in hiding. Where is Fred Hampton? Where are all the Black Panthers? If you are a serious threat to white supremacy in this country, you are not allowed to breathe freely. You are not allowed to live lavishly in Chicago, on the dollars of your Nation of Islam members. That's not allowed to happen. So this idea that because Farrakhan is calling for a race war, it is very dangerous. Let me tell you the other reason it's dangerous. Right now we have Sandra Bland. We have that case where we investigators are still looking into that case. We have Samuel Dubois, who was recently gunned down in the head, and the officer has been charged with murder. We have the other case of the young man, I think his name was Jonathan Farrell, who was gunned down while he was looking for help. That officer is also right now, the trial just started for him. So black people have a lot invested right now. We have a lot going on right now, and it only takes one person to listen to what Farrakhan has to say and go out and take out a police officer for the sympathy to change. After that, all the sympathy goes out the window. Black people are, the society at large will no longer be focusing on what's happening to black people, or on what's happening to Native Americans, or on what's happening to poor white people in terms of police officer and this police state. They'll be focusing on this white officer who got killed by a black person, and police will have the sympathy. Have you all forgotten what happened after those 2 NYPD cops were killed? After they were gunned down? All of the sympathy went from all the sympathy we had been talking about Eric Garner and all of that sympathy went to the police officers. So this rhetoric that Farrakhan is using for this Million Man March Part 2, which will probably be as inconsequential as Million Man March Part 1, which is racially inflammatory and is dangerous. And when I think about it, even when you look at the Million Man March that happened, when it happened, there was so much potential for greatness. There was so much potential to take a database, to kind of put these men in business, to do something, to kind of use that energy. But it wasn't anything. The Million Man March was basically, and this was basically Farrakhan getting black men together to tell them to do better. Do better at what? You be better fathers. Well, part of the reason some black men aren't better fathers is because they've been locked up, or they are locked up on a bag of weed or a bag of crack or whatever. Like, so much of what Farrakhan called on in terms of black men not being good or not being the best that they could be has to do with white supremacy. It didn't have to do mostly with the moral failings of black men. That doesn't mean there aren't some black men who are deadbeat dads. That doesn't mean that. There are white men who are deadbeat dads. So does that have to do with what does that have to to do with the race of people. You're pathologizing black people and saying that, black people need to do better. And that's really the reason that the white people really didn't care that they put up a small fight, but they really didn't care that the Million Man March went off without a hitch, because it was really a bunch of black men talking about how they need to do better. If you want to be black and talk about how you ain't worth shit, nobody really cares. White supremacy doesn't really care if you want to talk about it, because they believe the same thing. White supremacy also believes that you aren't worth too much, that you should do better, that you're less than, that you have moral failings, that you need to be taught, by white supremacy how to act and how to behave. So there was nothing transformational about the first Million Man March. There's going to be nothing transformational about the second Million Man March. What we need to focus on right now is building alliances. Is black people, Native Americans. There was a study that shows that the rate of Native Americans being killed by police is astronomical. It's off the charts. It actually surpasses black people. White people, poor white people without means, are actually now beginning to feel it. They're beginning to be killed by police. We need to form alliances with these people and start getting something done to push back these police unions, to fight this. And calling on black people to be soldiers and die in the face of tyranny right now, and die alone without anyone, who has our back, without any sorts of alliances, is irresponsible, especially from a man who isn't willing to do that himself. So I just want to tell everybody who's listening to Farrakhan to just be very, very careful, because anything that we plan to do or that we're trying to do to fight, white supremacy could be undone by what he is doing and by what he is saying right now. Be very, very careful who you listen to. Peace out.
Slave. Y'all welcome my man B Slave.